All right, next step, you want to dry out your instrument and your brushes. So I've got my snake brush over here, got valve brush over here. I like to put these angled down so that I can get as much water out of them as possible. And you want to clean out these as well. I use paper towels. I've already cleaned out this one pretty well, but this one, as you can see, needs some work. So really use a paper towel, get in and work on that. Let it dry for a while, as long as you can, if possible. Definitely wait at least an hour if you can. And then we'll put it back together in just a bit. All right, after the instrument has dried off for a while, we're gonna put the instrument back together. Just a reminder that there are many, many ways to clean your instrument, but always just do so slowly, carefully, never force anything, and we're gonna do this together. Feel free to email me if you have any questions at adamwtrumpet@gmail.com, or send me a message if you're watching this on social media. All right, so always want to keep some paper towel on hand, because we are going to start having some slide grease in play. So again, my favorite slide grease is the Shoki slide grease, but anything slide grease that's actually made for brass instruments will work. So here we go. Let's start with the tuning slide. So with all the slides, you really only need to put slide grease on the end, because when you put it in, it's going to go over all of it. This one's gonna need a good bit, so I'm gonna go ahead and put quite a bit on the end here. And then what we wanna do is one at a time. We wanna test out individual. This one looks like the bottom is pretty easy, free, moving. Top one I'm a little worried about. You can already see a good bit of build up on there, but seems to be working pretty well. And so we're gonna put them on together, and wow, slid in really, really well. So make sure that your water key is on the bottom here, facing out. That's important. All right, any of them work. We're gonna go with the second valve slide now. So here we go, number 2. All right, put that in right here. Make sure the button is facing out. All right, going on the first valve slide. Some people might have a ring. This is a beginner trumpet, so this one doesn't have a ring attachment. I would highly recommend getting a trumpet that does have a ring attachment, like this one that I have here. You notice there's a ring here so that you can actually move the first valve slide. I have another trumpet that I actually got one installed. This is a little tight, so what we're gonna do is the same thing with the tuning slide, do it individually. Do the bottom, see if we can get that, work that out a little bit. All right, then do the top. Top is really nice and free moving. All right, it's better. It's not great. But what I had someone do is take an extra one of these right here and create, they actually soldered on a piece right here so that I could use a kind of a beginner trumpet with a first valve slide ring. So, all right, the third valve slide is the most important one to be able to move. So you want to really make sure it's nice and greased up well. All right. So yet again, let's do one at a time. So we'll do the bottom one first. Pretty good. And then the top one. Set this down. Let's struggling a little bit to be able to move it around. So I'm going to take this off. So I'm going to unscrew that, get the screw out of the way, because that's causing some problems right now. But keep good track of that screw, find a safe place for it, should be good. All right, so now I'm able to put that back on the top. The top is working really well. The bottom is a little bit wonky. So now I put it back together. There we go. It's actually a little bit too wide at the end. I don't recommend doing this too much, but occasionally, if it's a little tight, you can push it in a little bit. I'm squeezing it at the top a little bit to see if that might help it out. And it does, it goes in a little bit smoother. Still not as smooth as I would like, but it's decent. So that's all the slide grease that we'll need. So get your hands nice and cleaned off. At this point, I'm gonna put the valve caps back on, one at a time, no particular order, I think. And then we're gonna put the valves back in. I'm gonna attack this first. So that can go here. And many trumpets have a little screw that you can adjust the length. So putting that screw in. And what you wanna do is be able to comfortably move the slide with one finger. Now this is a little bit rough. So what I'm gonna do to help it out actually is put a little bit of valve oil on there. Yet again, I really like Hetman's valve oil. If you just have a general trumpet, the piston number 2 is good. If you have a nicer like Boxstrad or a Yamaha or even nicer trumpet, get the light piston. And if you have a really old one, you can get the 3rd lubricant number 3 classic piston. But this should work just fine. So what we're gonna do is slide it out a little bit right there. I don't know if you can see that. There we go. And put just a little bit of valve oil on each of the slides. And that is gonna help us kind of work through that a little bit. I might put a little bit more on there if it's tight. All right. Thank you so much for sticking around. If you're still here, I'm really proud of you. All right, let's put the valves back in. So if you remember, I mentioned there's numbers here, and most trumpets, 9 times out of 10, the numbers are going to face where the mouthpiece goes in. So not towards the bell, away from the bell, towards the mouthpiece, okay? So there's many, many ways to oil valves. What I like to do, make sure it is not anywhere near your pants, but I actually like to hold it over top of a trash can, or I use brown paper bags from the grocery store. And what you're gonna do is just around the bottom edge, so underneath the springs, just this silver part down here, not up in the spring area, but underneath the silver part, you want to get a good bit of oil and shake off any excess. That's gonna take off any dirt. And then put it in number 1. So number 1 is this way, and it goes towards that direction. Now, what you can do is with the number facing this direction, push it straight down and start twisting to the side, you can actually feel it stop. And you can screw it in. Wow, that works really well. So we'll do the same thing for number 2 and 3. I'll see if I can do the video editing to actually speed this up so you don't have to watch it every time. But there's no need to put any oil in the holes. The point is to make sure that when it contacts the side of the valve casing, that there's oil there and not dirt. Those are working really well. And then number 3, which direction should the number face? Towards the mouthpiece, away from the bell, right? That direction. Twist it in, lock it in place. we're good to go. Okay, now for the first day or so after you've cleaned it, the valves or the slides might feel a little bit more stiff. It's going to take a couple days of playing it regularly to get it back in the groove of things where you're actually able to use the slides back to fully functioning. And sometimes it can feel a little bubbly. There might be some water trapped in certain areas of the trumpet, and so you might get some of those sounds in there. But next up, we want to test it. Now, I'm probably going to order some of these, and you can just get some super glue to glue it back on here. But let's test it out, yeah? If you can't get air through the instrument, chances are that your valves are not facing the right direction. So pull them out, make sure that it's 1, 2, 3, that the numbers are correct, and that they're all facing the mouthpiece. You might have, if you took your valves actually fully apart, you might have put the valves in backwards where the guides, that needs to be the bigger side on the left, this piece right here. You might have to take that apart so that you can make sure that the numbers are facing the right direction. All right. This is still really stiff to move. So, all right, that is how to clean out your instrument. At this point, put it back in the case and bring it out the next day to practice. Thank you very much.